I'm Tom Hattrick. Today at Mikunioz, we're going to show you an easy way to manually synchronize carburetors. Okay, so we're just talking about cable connection here, where you're putting a cable in through the top of the carburetor. Now the Mikuni carburetors come with a real mix match of top cable adjusters. You can have a look at these two here, where you see the smaller one is bang on 6mm hole, which for some of the cable ends can be a little tight. And then there's this other one which is almost 6.5mm, where they're a lot looser fit in there. Of course the rubber holds them in position and everything and works all okay. But with this one here, you may find that you'll have to relieve a little bit off the cable end itself. So what I've done with this one here, which as is, it's a little tight on there, and you would grab yourself a file and just round off the edge, working your way around. A bit of emery paper to do the job as well, and finish it off. And then when you've done that, it slips nicely into place in there. But it does give a very nice snug fit in the end. So some carbs you will have to do that, others you won't. And also now another thing here, just trap for people sometimes is with this other one, which is a low profile fitting on the end of the cable. These fittings actually screw down into the lid of the carburetor, and don't make the mistake that we've had quite a few people do, where they think that that just pushes into there, and of course it doesn't. And then you'll be ringing us up telling us that our inner wires are way too short. Well, they're not, because you have to actually remove this top adjuster, and then these new cable ends screw directly into that, giving you a much lower profile for clearance underneath a frame or a tank. Okay, what I've done here is just dummied up a situation on the wall here in the reception area, rather than motorbike where you're can be jumping from one side to the other to check things. With this, it makes it a lot easier to show you what you need to do to synchronize your carburetors. This is just a simple mechanical synchronize, where with your slides you just want to be sure that they go fully down into the fully closed position, and also that with your throttle action you've got the ability that they'll fully open. Obviously with the cutaway here at the top, you do need to go that bit further, so that then the back of the slide also does fully clear the venturi to get your full wide open throttle. Now when you pull on the throttle to get them to the fully wide open, we will what we'll do is we'll set them up here, and what we're going to do, it's a bit dark in there to show you, so I need to get a little bit better light on this, but what we're trying to do is get the to the point where the slide is right at the top, and you're going to lock off one side, and then you can just see it in there, and also with your finger so you can just feel it. Then all you're doing is going across to the other one, and you just want to set that one then to match what you've got there, and that will actually level up your slides. When you let them back down, they'll level all the way down, they'll level all the way up. It's a nice easy fix, and if you're even sitting on your bike, you can just put your finger on one side, have a feel, put it on the other side, have a feel, and it's pretty obvious if they're actually out of sync. Okay, so what we've done here is I've moved the camera in a bit better so we can get a good look at it, get a little bit of light in there, and you can see inside the right hand carburetor, just see a smidgen of reflection coming off the slide in the top of the venturi there. And then looking over at the left hand one, this is one we've already set. Okay, so this is in the right position, we've locked off the lock nut, that's all done up there. And this one here, you've got you can still see there's a bit of material showing there, so what you want to do is just get your adjuster and then start winding him up so that you can get them to level up. And you see he comes up there. A lot of bikes, you can check these halfway down or something with like a 3/8 drill bit shank, but there's a lot of situations where you've got a frame very close in behind there, or an oil tank, and you're not going to be able to go fitting anything in there other than just a finger and just have a feel, and yep, they both feel about the same there. All you're doing is feeling that, getting that feel that, yeah, okay, they're level, and generally you'll get down, have a look, and yep, they look spot on. So that there looks perfect to me. All you do is just lock off the second nut, give the throttle a couple of flicks just to make sure that it's all good, and then wind it back down to the idle position and let the throttle off, and away you go. Final thing we need to do now is just check that when at idle that all the slides are sitting level. This is just basically all adjusted on these individual carbs by your idle speed screw, and we're just wanting to make sure that each at rest is sitting evenly on the screws. So having done your synchronizing, which as we showed you at the top of the bore there, this means that your slides are moving up and down all evenly across the carburetors. You will have, of course, already have wound your idle back a bit, set your mixture screws to get the smoothest idle, and now raised it up to the normal idle speed to be set at. And doing this by ear, you generally get it pretty much right, but just to make sure it's absolutely perfect, which then guarantees when you back off it'll just drop instantly back to a perfect idle, and also a nice smooth all level coming up off the mark as well. So you could do this by trying to measure the gap in there, but I think you'd find it pretty hard trying to find yourself a set of number drills to use a shank to try and measure the gap, where all you really just need to do is just do it the old-fashioned way, which is using your fingertips, the most sensitive part on your body, and you're just going to put your fingers inside the throat there and just rest them on the slide. So on a multi-cylinder you can just spread your hands across all of the cylinders, and then just have someone else slowly just wind the throttle on, and then as it starts to take up you'll feel all the slides start to move, and you can just feel with your fingers that if they're all just start to move instantly and all together, then it's all perfect and the job's done. But just say, for instance, that one of them did start to move first, well, that means that one's set a little bit lower, and on that particular carb you would just wind it in a little bit to bring it up, and then just keep testing. And of course, if one takes off a bit later than all the others, well, it's sitting a little bit too high, so you would adjust that to bring him back down again, and then yeah, just keep testing till you've got them all feeling good. Fire up the bike, make sure it's not revving too high, it's still got the right idle speed, and then if you're happy with that, the job's done. With banks of conjoined carburetors, obviously you don't need to do the individual idle screws. They just have one screw which adjusts the whole main throttle shaft, so it makes it a lot simpler and a lot easier than we just showed in that previous example. But again, with these, as these come, they're all just manually set at the top of the, if you line them all up and look at the top of the slide, you'll see they're all dead level. And we do that same thing when we're making banks of 3 or custom banks of 4. We'll just, for shipping, we just manually line them all up. In the manual it says to check your synchronize. You've got the rubber caps here for putting on your gauges, but at the end of the day, if you got a good set of digital gauges and you connect them up, start up your motor, and they should all just align perfectly. And what it's really telling you is if one of them is out, is actually telling you that one of your pots does actually need some mechanical attention. But yeah, it's at least what we've shown you today is a sort of nice, easy way to do it. Easy to check, quick to do. No real fancy equipment required, and at least it gets your bike up and running and you're on the road. Okay, well, I hope you found that useful, and for more handy hints and Mikuni videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.